Hello, and welcome to the first episode of Your Week in Space. I'm David.
And I'm Zach, and this has been a stellar week. We have lots to talk about, so let's jump right in.
Monday saw a total solar eclipse cross a large swath of the North American continent, with the path of totality crossing parts of Mexico, the United States, and Canada. This total solar eclipse was the first to cross parts of the U.S. since the 21st of August, 2017. A solar eclipse happens when some part of the moon passes between the sun and Earth, causing the moon's shadow to fall across the Earth's surface. Most solar eclipses are only partial, with the moon not fully covering the sun. A total solar eclipse happens when the moon's orbit crosses fully in front of the sun. Unlike a lunar eclipse, which can be seen by anyone on the nighttime side of the Earth, a solar eclipse can only be viewed along the path of the moon's shadow. It's estimated that some 31 million Americans live along the path of totality, and that millions more flocked to the path to get a view of a rare total eclipse. For those outside of the path of totality, views of a partial eclipse were possible across most of the U.S. Although total solar eclipses occur every couple years, not all of them are viewable, their shadows crossing uninhabited locations like the Pacific and Atlantic Oceans. The next total eclipse will take place in 2026, and it will be viewable from Greenland, Iceland, and Spain. It won't be until 2033 that another total eclipse touches the U.S., though only those in Alaska will get to see it. For those Americans in the lower 48 states, the wait will be until 2044, when Montana and North Dakota will be on the path of totality. However, 2045 will be another big total eclipse, with the path of totality crossing from Northern California to the Space Coast of Florida.
This week saw the 39th Space Symposium take place at the Broadmoor Resort in Colorado Springs, Colorado. The multi-day event sees thousands of attendees from around the world come together to discuss all aspects of the space industry. The event, founded and hosted by the Space Foundation, has been taking place yearly since 1984. That inaugural event was attended by a mere 250 attendees. The event now draws thousands, with over 10,000 attendees from 40 countries recorded at the 2023 symposium. Space Foundation, a nonprofit organization founded in 1983, seeks to advocate for all sectors of the space industry. To that end, the organization helps bring space awareness through education and major industry events, such as the Space Symposium. The symposium draws all manner of organizations that are involved in the space industry, including commercial, government, military, academic, and nonprofits. These groups are able to showcase their innovations and are able to connect and network with one another and with potential customers. The event also plays host to a number of speakers and workshops, allowing participants to hear from industry leaders. Some of the topics covered include space law and regulations, space investment, space science, and industry game changers. Each year, several prestigious awards are given out by the Space Foundation to mark remarkable achievements by individuals and organizations. These awards include the Alan Shepard Technology and Education Award, given to Rachel Harrington, a middle school science teacher from Arlington, Washington, and the Space Achievement Award, given to the Euclid mission team from the European Space Agency. For those who wish to attend next year, the 2025 Space Symposium will be held between April 7th and the 10th.
Coming out of the Space Symposium, moon exploration company Astrobotic announced multiple partnerships this week. The partnerships will see technology demonstrations transported to the moon on future Astrobotic lunar lander missions. Astrobotic's next mission, Griffin 1, will see the company deliver a cube rover to the lunar surface. The company announced they will be partnering with Mission Control Space, who will be integrating their Spacefarer operations platform with the small rover. The software will demonstrate the ability for operators on Earth to monitor and command a rover on the surface of the moon in real time. This will allow for more responsive exploration of the lunar surface by the cube rover, which is designed to travel several kilometers and is capable of carrying a variety of payloads. The mission has financial backing from both NASA and the Canadian Space Agency. The Griffin 1 mission will land at the lunar South Pole, a region of interest as the site for humanity's return to the moon due to the potential of water ice hidden in permanently shadowed craters, and is currently scheduled for later this year. Additionally, Astrobotic announced another partnership with Laser Zentrum Hanover, agreeing to host LZH's Moonrise project on a future mission in 2026. The Moonrise project is a look into ways to construct infrastructure on the lunar surface with materials already available on the moon. This would cut out the need to transport construction materials from Earth, which would be costly. The future Astrobotic mission would see a compact laser as a payload on the lander. The laser would then be used to melt lunar soil, called regolith, in order to create 2D structures. A camera will be used to observe the process and analyze the results. Success would be a step towards being able to use 3D printing techniques to build things such as roads and landing sites. The Moonrise project is funded by the German Space Agency. These partnerships are an indication of the growing interest to return to the moon. They show how companies such as Astrobotic are going to become increasingly in demand by customers wishing to reach the moon.
An agreement of cooperation was signed between the United States and Japan on Tuesday. The agreement will see the two nations join together to explore the moon during NASA's Artemis program. The agreement was signed by NASA Administrator Bill Nelson and Japan's Minister of Education, Culture, Sports, Science, and Technology, Masahito Moriyama, at NASA's DC headquarters. The agreement will see Japan design, develop, and operate a pressurized rover that will be capable of both crewed and uncrewed operation. In exchange, NASA will launch and deliver the rover to the moon, as well as provide 2 opportunities for Japanese astronauts to travel to the lunar surface. The pressurized rover will be designed to accommodate 2 astronauts for up to 30 days. The rover will act as a mobile habitat and laboratory and will allow a team of astronauts to travel and work all over the lunar South Pole region. The vehicle will have a planned 10-year lifespan, with NASA wanting to begin use of the rover during Artemis 7. Additionally, U.S. President Joe Biden and the Japanese Prime Minister Kishida Fumio announced a shared goal for a Japanese national to be the first non-American astronaut to land on the moon. This agreement adds to a growing list of agreements between the governments of the U.S. and Japan that seek peaceful cooperation between the two nations in the exploration and use of space. The Gateway Implementing Arrangement signed in 2022 has NASA allowing a Japanese astronaut to serve as a crew member aboard the Gateway station that will orbit the moon, while Japan will provide Gateway's environmental control and life support systems, as well as cargo transportation to the station. These kinds of agreements will see the return of humanity to the moon as an international community. As the Artemis program progresses, more and more nations will be leaving their boot prints upon the lunar surface.
This week marked the end of an era of more than 60 years with the final launch of United Launch Alliance's Delta IV Heavy rocket. With this final mission, ULA moves forward with their next-generation Vulcan rocket. Liftoff occurred on April 9th at 12:53 p.m. EDT from Space Launch Complex 37 at Cape Canaveral, Florida. The rocket carried the NROL-70 mission payload for the U.S. National Reconnaissance Office. Like all missions for the NRO, the exact specifications for the payload are classified. The Delta IV Heavy has carried out 16 total launches since its first flight in 2004, with only one launch being unsuccessful. Though most of these flights were carried out for the NRO and the payloads were classified, the launch vehicle has had some important launches. These include the launch of the Parker Solar Probe, which was sent to study the Sun, and Orion Exploration Flight Test 1, the first test flight of the capsule that is being used to return humans to the moon. The torch of heavy lift capabilities is being passed on to the Vulcan launch vehicle. The Vulcan is capable of providing higher performance using a single-core rocket as opposed to the Delta IV Heavy's 3-core configuration. The Vulcan already has a successful launch under its belt, having launched Astrobotic's Peregrine 1 mission to the moon back in January. Though the Peregrine mission ended in failure due to issues with the spacecraft's propulsion system, Astrobotic noted that the Vulcan performed as intended and that there was no evidence to suggest the damage was caused by the launch. ULA's next launch is the crew flight test of Boeing's Starliner transport. That launch will carry 2 NASA astronauts to the International Space Station and is scheduled to launch no earlier than May 6th.
This has been Your Week in Space.
Please like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching.